Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I am Brian Cat NFL. Paul is fanatic_pick on Twitter. The Dolphins are victorious today against the New England Patriots to get to 9-5. Final score today, 22-12, kind of an odd score, but it was kind of an odd game as well. I mean, when you take a look at what happened here, the Dolphins were down 6-0 at halftime, came roaring back in the second quarter, mostly thanks to what they were able to do on the ground. But Paul, when you take a look overall at this game now, two things happened as far as just the overall picture here. The Dolphins are now guaranteed a winning season, and the Patriots are guaranteed to have their first non-winning season in 20 years.
That is such a sweet and beautiful thing, and yet another reason I'm sad about the pandemic here up in the heart of New England and Pat's country is not being able to go to the office tomorrow for Victory Monday on Christmas week with a Dolphins Santa hat on, and pay a little visit to everybody that's I don't know if you know this, but I'm pretty open about being a Dolphins fan. And so, yeah, I've gotten a few notes from Pats fans over the past 20 years that it would be fun to just say good morning to tomorrow.
Yeah, it's about time. And this at first did not look like it was going to be a good morning the next day for the Dolphins and Patriots. When the whole game was a slugfest, but the first half was pretty ugly at times. The second drive of the game for the Dolphins, they go 95 yards and Tua throws an interception and a very, very ugly one at the goal line. But then he recovered very nicely. The Dolphins got their ground game going, and they were able to bounce back considerably on offense, even if they weren't able to bust a lot of big plays from in the passing game with Tua.
They weren't, but you know what? They took what the defense gave them, and the defense was just playing the pass and letting Miami gash them on the ground, hoping that they'd make a mistake down the stretch. And early on in the game, we saw them make some mistakes. Tua at the 3-yard line threw a ball when he really should have just either taken the sack or eaten it or anything to get intercepted. But I mean, really, there were a lot of little things that if they were just fine-tuned, or say Miami had their starters, really could open the game up. Like a ball bouncing off frickin' Christian Wilkins' leg and just barely touching it, not affecting the play, but technically, yes, that counts as an out-of-bounds player touching the ball. So New England got the ball back instead of a Xavien Howard touchdown there. But really, I'm proud of this team. They battled back.
That was the time that I thought, something's really going wrong in this game. Midway through the second quarter, for those that didn't see it, Cam Newton's going out of bounds. The ball's punched out, and the football gets sandwiched in between Xavien Howard and Christian Wilkins, and Christian Wilkins has a foot out of bounds. Howard runs it back for a touchdown. It's called a touchdown, and then it's reversed because of that. And then the Patriots on the very next play, because it was fourth down, kick a field goal to make it 6-0. At that point, I thought, today may not be our day. And then the first drive of the second half, Dolphins march right down the field, a very balanced attack from Tua and Savon Ahmed and Matt Breida. They go up 7-6, and then Xavien Howard gets his turnover on the very next Patriots possession. Jacoby Myers catches a pass. Xavien Howard knocks it out, and the Dolphins get a turnover for the 21st straight game.
Yeah, and I like what the defense did here. And I'm going to be honest with you. One of the things I loved in this game, and I've thought about it over and over since, 4 o'clock today, a lot of the concepts Miami ran today, a lot of the way that Shane Gailey opened up the playbook with Miami, especially in the second half, I really, really would love to see Miami do with their starters on the field. It's, some of these reverses, things that open the field up. Uh, I want to see more of that with Miami starters. I loved that double reverse, what was supposed to be an attempted pass, and the fact that Lynn Bowden learned and didn't just, pause and hesitate like he was the Heisman Trophy for a few minutes and let everybody know he was going to throw. I really want to see Miami start doing some of those things.
Yeah, well, I think they have been over the last couple of games. I mean, the reverses, um, the no huddles. I think they've been doing more and more of that over the last couple of weeks. I think Chan Gailey has called a phenomenal game again here today, and I think he has over the last 2 or 3 games too. And it's interesting that the more Tua gets on the field, the more he gets comfortable, the better Chan Gailey looks. It's kind of interesting how that looks sometimes. Um, Also around the NFL, Paul, uh, two major things happened as far as draft position. Number one, the Dolphins move into sixth in the draft order because of who wants did Dallas win? Because of a Dallas Cowboys win today over the 49ers. Also, in addition to that, the New York Jets fall to number 2 in the NFL draft with 2 weeks left. I tell you what, I watched the entire Rams Jets game. I saw the Jets jump out to an early big lead, even though they were 18-point underdogs. And now with 2 weeks left, it looks like the Jets aren't going to get Trevor Lawrence.
It does. And I'm okay with that. The only thing I hate about that is I think that means the Jets are going to end up with arguably the best pair of bookend tackles in the league for the next 10 years. Because I think if they pass on Trevor Lawrence, I don't think they go Justin Fields. I think they go Penei Sewell. And, I think him and Mekhi Becton, God, good luck coming off the edge against that mess.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what they do there because I mean the obvious number 2 pick and the consensus number 2 pick after Lawrence is Justin Fields, the quarterback from Ohio State, who did not have a very good game against Northwestern this past week. In fact, when he played against top competition, Northwestern and Indiana, he didn't play well either. So it'll be fascinating to see if they stick with Sam Darnold or not.
It will. And we actually just got a question.
I, I still think they'll end up taking a quarterback, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think that could go either way. We did just get a question in the chat that I just want to bring up real quick here. So we had something happen today for the second time in a few weeks with players screwing up reporting on a trick play. Rob asked us why on earth players should report in on trick plays. Isn't that basically just showing your hand, especially on special teams trick plays? I'm going to jump in real quick here first. I think the players should report on every single one of those plays and go from there. And then it's that way when you do have the trick plays, it doesn't matter. But again, it gives you the opportunity to do so. If you wear a lineman number and you're on the end of the line, report in regardless of how stupid you think it makes you look.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rule, and you've got to do it, plain and simple. And Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson didn't do it last week, and then this week, what was it? Was it Grugier Hill or was it somebody else who didn't?
Grugier Hill.
And yeah, it was Grugier Hill. So, yeah, I mean, it's just got to do it. I mean, the Dolphins did not have a lot of penalties today, and I can't say enough about the offensive line and the way they performed today. I mean, 228 yards on the ground here from the Dolphins running backs, 208 of them from Savad Ahmed and Matt Breida. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for a performance like that from the running back position.
We have, and what I liked here is I kind of expected a big day once we knew for sure that Myles Gaskin was out in this game. You and I talked about it on our pregame show. Savon Ahmed and if Matt Breida could get rolling, were kind of the better fit to hit up against this Patriots defense with the way that the Patriots play and what they're susceptible to. If you've got a running back that can hit the hole with speed and make a quick decision and commit, you can get to that second, third level fairly easily against this Patriots defense. Like we saw Cam Akers do a couple weeks ago, like we saw Matt Breida and Savon Ahmed do today, as well as, on Laird's 2 attempts. So it was exciting. It was really good to see that Miami get that running game moving a little bit.
Yeah, and just for our listeners here, if we're having any technical difficulties, we really can't see it on our end. So I'll take responsibility. It might be an internet connection on my end, so I'm not quite sure. But Paul, one thing you said when we previewed this game too was that Savon Ahmed and Cam Akers kind of had that same body type, just that fast ability to get skinny, to get from point A to point B and run downhill. And that's exactly what we saw here. And this is now 2 really good running back performances from Savon Ahmed. He had 21 carries for 90 yards against the Chargers. And without him in that game, who knows if the Dolphins, I still think they win that game, but who knows if they win as convincingly as they do. And then today, if they don't have Savon Ahmed, if he's still injured, I'm not sure the Dolphins win this game. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I'm with you on that. And here's my issue right now. You said the key opportune thing here. If he's not injured in this game, or the fact that he's not still injured, I forget exactly how you just phrased it, but it's critical because Miami's got Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, and Savon Ahmed. Patrick Laird, he's a complimentary piece that's situational. But those 3 guys, they all have things that they're good at and things that I like about them. Here's the thing I don't like about any of them. They don't have the size and body type to be your every down back. They all have that set up to be a complimentary back that isn't going to have the durability to hold up on a game in, game out basis if you're throwing them 15, 20 carries a game.
yeah, and Ahmed is not that type of running back. I mean, he is a tall, fast, downhill runner. That's what he is. Performance like that, even a couple of times a year, he's somebody that I think is going to stick around for quite a while. So, and I'll tell you another thing too, as far as the offensive line and creating holes for Savon Ahmed. When I rewatched the game here just a couple of hours ago, rewatch him and rewatch those runs from Savon Ahmed and tell me that you don't see Robert Hunt at right tackle destroying people. You watch that 31-yard run where he gets to the outside. He annihilates Chase Winovich, and then he hits another guy on the same play. And so I'm very, very excited about him at right tackle. Austin Jackson had a lot of faux pas at the left tackle spot. I think Tua made up for that a lot. But, yeah, I mean, this was a smash mouth game from the Miami Dolphins offensive line.
It really was. Miami came out and basically kicked the Pats D-line right in the teeth. And you know me. You know I love my fat guy play. And I really hope Kinley's doing okay. We need him back, especially given the fact that Flowers couldn't go again today. I think Kinley has been one of the more dominant guys down the stretch. You mentioned Robert Hunt. I also saw Kinley snowplowing people over and over again today. Really, really like what we've seen out of the offensive line and these 3 rookies that are going to be with the Dolphins for a long time here.
And even Michael Dieter got on the field and played pretty well. I mean, it's a consistent theme when you see these offensive linemen having a real next man up mentality, because Eric Flowers didn't play, like you said. Solomon Kinley moves over to left guard. Jesse Davis plays right guard. Then Kinley goes down. Dieter gets in there, and they just keep trucking along. That's a sign of a good football team right there. On the defensive side of the ball, not a big surprise that the Dolphins had a lot of success here. The Patriots have now gone at least 8 quarters without scoring a touchdown. They get 4 field goals in this game. They had 1 field goal in their loss to the Rams this past Thursday night. So, um, really, when you look at it, and Jacoby Myers had a big day as far as stats, but really it's because the Dolphins by and large left the middle of the field wide open a lot. So because they were attacking Cam Newton, they were attacking their running backs, and they were making sure that nobody was going to get deep. So overall, I agreed with that strategy because it held the Patriots to field goals.
It did, and there's something you said before the show, and I know it's something that I had put out on Twitter as well. The Pats haven't scored a touchdown in what, 2 games now? It's the Jets are looking like a more dominant team right now than the Pats are. The Pats cannot finish, and a lot of that has to do with Cam Newton. He is not getting it done for them, and I don't know what the hell their answer is going to be because they're going to be right in the middle of the pack as far as the draft goes. There's not a huge number of options other than stopgaps, and Bill Belichick is not getting any younger. So they might be a mess for a little while here. They haven't really done anything to start a rebuild yet. So, and they're not positioned well to do so this offseason.
Well, they're kind of in that offensive purgatory, it looks like. I mean, because the Patriots are probably going to end up, 6-10, 7-9, and not having a top 10 pick, and they're probably going to miss the boat on quarterbacks. So what are you going to do from that point? Anyway, it's nice to talk about the Patriots being not only unsuccessful in this game, unsuccessful in the season, but also unsuccessful potentially heading into the next couple of years. So nothing is better than that. Also on defense too, Paul, Xavien Howard, gosh, I was hoping he was going to, that touchdown was going to stick, because if it had, I mean, that might have been that would have been made the case that much stronger for X winning Defensive Player of the Year.
It might have. It should have. And it still should. He picked that turnover up. It bounced off of Christian Wilkins' leg, and then he came back and forced another turnover shortly thereafter. And Cam Newton barely challenged him today. You look at his entire body of work this season, and I don't see how it's close with anybody else. But looking around the league, you can make up funny money statistics, but end of the day, you look at what Stephon Gilmore did last year, and other than having a Patriots jersey on, there's nothing that he led Xavien Howard in last year that Xavien Howard hasn't done, and more so this year. Steph Gilmore got Player of the Year last year, and it is not close if you compare the two, and I don't see anybody that's closing in on Xavien Howard to make it a conversation.
Yeah, Gilmore, I thought, deserved Defensive Player of the Year last year, and you're right. He, to me, hasn't played as well as Howard has this year. Yeah. And again, cornerback in today's NFL, where the deck is stacked so far against defensive backs, that's what makes what he's doing amazing. The only other player I would put in that conversation, like I've said before, is Aaron Donald. If you give it to Aaron Donald instead of Xavien Howard, I could stomach that. If you give it to another player, then I will not understand it whatsoever. So,
you mean the Aaron Donald that got? I want to talk about X real quick, but do you mean the Aaron Donald that got absolutely mauled by Mekhi Becton today? Because that was lovely to watch. And for two, one of our listeners pointed out something I meant to mention before. It's Kyle Van Noy did a great job dropping back early, deflecting a pass. But if you look beyond Kyle Van Noy on that one, Xavien Howard had position on his guy and had his arms ready to go for that 10th interception. And I don't fault Kyle Van Noy in any way. Kyle Van Noy made one hell of an athletic play on that. But that was Xavien's 10th interception right there, deflected by Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, I agree. Van Noy had the ball go off his hands, and right behind him was Xavien Howard. It certainly could have been. And it certainly could have been a touchdown, and and then he gets the forced fumble. So either way, the guy is making plays. And on the other side of the ball, Byron Jones. Um, Still is it's not pretty what he does, but he and Xavien Howard, when they work in tandem together, it's really hard. I don't care who you are to beat those two cornerbacks. So, yeah, I mean, Jerome Baker also gets his seventh sack of the year. Emmanuel Agba gets his ninth. Overall, I mean, this is a defense. Uh, if you're the Las Vegas Raiders this coming Saturday, I'd be terrified to play this defense right now.
I'd be terrified to play this defense, and I'd also be terrified to play this offense if I'm the Raiders. The Raiders are such a poorly coached team, and I know we're going to get to that this week, so I won't beat a dead horse here. But the Raiders are very poorly coached on defense, especially. And the fact they got Marcus Mariota coming in to face this defense is got to be causing some nightmares for Chucky Gruden there. He just, yeah, he's a horrible coach at this point. So I'm not even going to beat that down.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Raiders have gotten to 7-7 this year. You've been saying it for weeks, and I've completely agreed with you. They've got some good pieces, but overall, I mean, they're one team I looked at and said, okay, I really don't think they're going to be in the playoffs here. I also didn't think the Browns would be, and I have to look over and see them beat the Giants 20-3. I can't believe they're going to win their 11th game of the year. Just please, somebody give the Dolphins a break here. Get them. I mean, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to win 11 games to make the playoffs in a 7-team AFC. And you look in the NFC, and you're going to see two teams probably at 8-8 and 7-9 making the playoffs. It's infuriating. It really is. But Paul, it's still a great win today, and I like that the Dolphins are playing the Raiders here on Saturday, because if they get that win, they get to 10-5. A lot of bad things can happen from that point that get the Dolphins in the playoffs. Let's get to the greats here at the quarterback spot, starting out with Tua Tagovailoa. Not a pretty stat line as far as yardage, only 134 yards, 20 for 26, 134 yards, no touchdowns, passing, one interception, and a very, very ugly interception early on. Also, two rushing touchdowns, too. So, given that Bill Belichick was 9-0 against his last 9 rookie quarterbacks that he faced, and uh, how Tua was managing the game, didn't put the ball in harm's way a lot, except for that terrible interception. He relied on his running game. I'm going to give him a B minus only because of the 134 yards. But overall, I was pleased with the game.
Yeah, no, Kat, I'm with you on that. It's for me, it's a B, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was learning as he went along, and you could see the progress, not just in this game, but from start to finish in this game. And I liked what I saw from Tua. I liked that he took this team on his back as things wore down. Yeah, the interception early on was ugly. It's one of those things that's going to happen. And I want to go back to that Belichick stat because it's still been sticking in my head for a little bit now. And one of the things I want to say about that is it's I know I already said funny money, but this is a funny money stat too. It's when you win something astronomical like 80-85% of your games over 20 years, guess what? You're probably going to have a pretty good record against rookie quarterbacks as well as veteran quarterbacks throughout that entire life cycle.
Yeah, the fact that the Patriots have been so good for so long certainly factors into that. There's no doubt about that. But also, we saw a couple weeks ago Justin Herbert get shut out by Bill Belichick and New England, and I don't think that's a coincidence either. Paul, I'm going to throw it back to you at running back, and I'm actually glad to do this because usually, I don't know, I always throw it to you for running backs, and they've been terrible for the last year and a half. So you know what? 200 plus yards on the ground. You go first.
I'm going to A plus the living hell out of these guys. I loved the decisiveness from Savon Ahmed. I loved that Matt Breida started to figure it out. And I hated the fact that on that 31-yard run, it hurt a little bit because it really helped me realize how much we've been missing that piece for a while now. I can't remember the last time that I got that feeling watching somebody rip off a 31-yard run from the running back position. And God bless these guys. They tore the Patriots apart and really didn't have to make Tua have to rely on his sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth off the street UPS sticker greeter wide receiver core, which does have some gems in it. Don't get me wrong. But again, as you pointed out before, when you're down your top five wide receivers, your top tight end, and your number one running back, it's a good thing to be able to rely on that running game.
Yeah, and even looking past the running back speed, what I really like too is that when Savon Ahmed and Matt Breida got hit in the hole, they actually continued to fall forward for yardage, especially Breida. Breida, I was very impressed when when he got hit after like a 5 yard gain, he would turn that into an 8 or 9 yard gain. When he needed 5 yards, he'd get hit after 3 yards and he would fall forward for the first down. That's what really impressed me on that. I liked having two speed backs like this there. I'm gonna echo you there on the A+. At receiver, you know, we really thought throughout the week that Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, and Jakeem Grant, we would see one or two of them. We didn't see it, and then we see the inactives, and we don't see any of them. All of them are inactive. And so Lynn Bowden's your top receiver. Uh, your top wide receiver. Durham Smythe actually ends up leading your team in catches and in yards in this game, which shows how spread out the Dolphins were. So I thought they gave a good effort, but when we do these grades, I don't like grading on effort specifically. So, I'm going to go with a C+ very simply because it's probably a D unit without your top five receivers in terms of talent. They did a they did a decent job, so I'm going to go with a C+.
Yeah, and they got in a little bit with two carries out of Lynn Bowden and Malcolm Perry in the running game. Durham Smythe came to play today. That man deserved a damn touchdown, and I'm sad to see he didn't get one. He was running people over. I liked on Shaheen's one catch the fact that he ran a few people over. And really, we saw these guys get better as the game went on. There were a couple of key drops. There were a couple of guys that looked a little out of place at times. But overall, I can go with a C, and it's meant as a compliment.
Yeah, and I agree with you. How many times have we said Durham Smythe came to play today? I mean, he's kind of a what you see is what you get type of player. But yeah, I mean, he trucked a few guys. I mean, and I think that's when you look back at the 2018 draft, he drafted him in the middle of the fourth round. I think that's really turned into a pretty nice selection there. Offensive line by this unit taking the place of Eric Flowers as well as Solomon Kinley when he went down. Again, when you look at Robert Hunt, and I say it over and over again, I thought he had a phenomenal game at the right tackle spot. He mauled people, and he was every bit responsible for the three longest runs of the day by the Dolphins offensive unit here. Austin Jackson, I think if Tua didn't step up and get the ball out of his hands quickly, then there could have been some problems there. So he's one I wasn't too pleased at his performance today. But overall, when you look at the results, I mean, the Dolphins win. They allow 2 sacks. They have over 200 yards on the ground. I'm going to give this unit an A-.
I'm going to point at these guys first, and I know we're going to get to the next group second. I think Miami really won this game in the trenches today. They slugged it out, and I've got some good things to say on both sides of the ball. I mean, there was one series where they ran almost exclusively over the left side, and then they came back and they started hitting all over the line. And, like you pointed out before, Solomon Kinley goes down. Now they've got 2 quote unquote backups in, and they don't skip a beat and keep mauling the Pats D line. They picked up the blitz well today when it happened. And really, they were a huge part in opening up those holes for those quick guys to make their decision and get through. They got the push on Tua's goal line touchdown. Robert Hunt even got to run with the ball for a half a second in this one on a weird bounce pass off somebody's foot. I can give these guys an A easily, and I'm literally borderline A plus because all of the running backs averaged over 5 yards a carry on their way to 200 and ridiculous yards rushing.
Yeah, this game was one in the trenches, and when you look at the defensive side of the ball, I thought there was good pressure on Cam Newton here today. Um, when you look at the Patriots on the ground, I mean, I was surprised that Sony Michel only had 10 rushes in a game like this. He had 10 rushes for 74 yards. And Cam Newton didn't have the success that he had on the ground either there too. So, I thought overall it was a solid day from the Dolphins defensive line. Um, if I think Sony Michel's yard per carry would have slowed down a lot if they had stuck with him a lot more. I think they were using him more to surprise the Dolphins defense, which I'm not sure how effective of a strategy that was. So, I'm going to go with a B for the defensive line here.
I'm gonna stick with an A on this one. They got to Cam a lot, and yeah, Cam did get some rushing yards. He's a big bastard, but I mean, you go back if you watch Zach Sealer's sack. I love the sack. Don't get me wrong. I love the stunt that they ran on that. But once this defensive line got to pin their ears back, it got real fun. And on that sack, watch Raekwon Davis. He beats the ever loving hell out of two or three linemen for the duration of that play. Literally throwing these guys to the ground as the next guy would pop back up trying to block him. And it just opened up that D line. And it really was fun to watch. And there were a lot of moments in this game like that one. Did they pop off some rushing yards? Sure. But this line really helped 90% of the time with making Cam get the ball out and not letting him get comfortable.
What a draft pick Raekwon Davis has turned into. There, no doubt about that. To get him at the end of the second round, I was not happy with the pick. I was pissed that J.K. Dobbins went one pick ahead of Raekwon Davis. We did this show live here at that time, and I had a face like I just sucked on a lemon when Raekwon Davis was the pick. And man, with just what a handful he is on the inside. Paul, I'm going to throw it back to you at linebacker.
I thought this was another great game from Jerome Baker in this one. He forced a fumble, separated somebody from the ball, and he seemed to be all over the field. He had a couple issues in coverage here and there. I thought Kyle Van Noy played well. Landon Roberts, I made a comparison during the game. If you just look at the highlight reel, Landon Roberts typically looks like he has a good game. And I know he had the fumble recovery on the Xavien Howard forced fumble, which was awesome to see. But again, Landon Roberts is the Terrell Buckley of the linebacker corps. And what I mean by that is he takes some chances, takes some guesses, and when he hits at 1,000,000 miles an hour and makes a huge play. When he whiffs or he guesses wrong, he goes 1,000,000 miles an hour and takes himself out of the play for, allowing the other team to do what they want through the gap that he didn't guess. And we saw that, I believe, on a 4th-and-1 today, or a 3rd-and-1 today, that the Pats basically ran through one hole and Roberts guessed the other. We just need him to be a little more consistent, and then he really has the skills to be there. But he does drag this grade down a little bit, as well as some issues in coverage at times today. I can go with a B for the linebacking core. Overall, they were part of helping limit the Patriots' offense.
Yeah, sometimes it seemed like the middle of that defense was evacuated, and that's the only success the Patriots had on defense. So yeah, I'm going to go with a B plus. I mean, I thought I thought Jerome Baker had a heck of a game, and the passes that they did let up didn't turn out to hurt the Dolphins very much. Secondary, I mean, I'm going to have to go with an A for them. I mean, Xavien Howard, Byron Jones, Eric Rowe, all phenomenal games. Nick Needham had a couple of issues there. He had a penalty. He let up two bigger catches. He was probably the worst of the bunch, but even that, according to normal NFL standards, is not a very bad game from a nickelback that you had from Nick Needham there. So, again, strength of the team. And I hope the Dolphins continue to build on this strength moving forward here in future seasons. So I'm going to go with an A for them too.
Yeah, it's Xavien Howard was all over the field and really should have had even more special plays. Byron Jones, you're going to barely see his name on the stat sheet, on the game sheet, on the passes allowed, anything, because he shut down his side of the field for the most part. Bobby McCain, God, I love me some Bobby. Brandon Jones forced a fumble in this one. That really should have been a return for 6 if it wasn't for Christian Wilkins' thigh pad being as thick as it is. And really, they help this team go in so many ways. I can give the secondary an A here.
And you look too, Paul, at those really the top 8 rookies that the Dolphins drafted and or traded for, which in Lynn Bowden's case they traded for him. Tua, Austin Jackson, Noah Igbenogany, who is returning kicks today, finally got on the field. Robert Hunt, Raekwon Davis, Brandon Jones, Solomon Kindley, Lynn Bowden. Those are 8 players that are getting meaningful snaps in their first year on a team that at worst is going to be 9-7, probably 10-6. So that if that doesn't say a lot about the future, I mean, it's good stuff there with the youth the Dolphins are bringing to the roster. Special teams, Jason Sanders missed a 52-yard field goal, and when it seems like if he misses a 52-yard field goal, we think he has a terrible game because of what we're used to. But happens. There was also a special teams play where Matt Hawk faked it, ran to his left, did a whirlwind there, and threw the ball to Kamu Grugier-Hill, and there was an illegal man downfield. To be honest, I hope I never see that play again.
Kamal Grugier-Hill was the illegal man downfield.
Yeah, that's why he got down there. He didn't report. I'm pretty sure he ran out of off the sideline, and just caught the pass.
He might as well.
Hey, good effort there. I mean, but yeah, but other than that, I'm glad to see how they rebounded this week too, because Gunnar Olszewski for the Patriots is one of the best special teams one of the best punt returners in the league, aside from Jakeem Grant and Mecole Hardman, who we saw last week. They rebounded very nice here. So, overall, not a lot to complain about. I'm going to give them a B+.
Oh, you and I are going to differ here. It's Jason Sanders missed a 52-yard field goal, didn't do much else. There was a stupid ass return that put Miami deep in a hole. The dumbass boneheaded play yet again of not checking in, being at the end of that line, and catching a pass for what should have been a first down on a very obvious gimmick play that had the Patriots confused when they saw how the Dolphins lined up. And all you have to do is go, hey, I'm eligible. Pats were already confused. They already could tell it was a fake from the formation. Their punt returner was running forward to help out, and not only did you forget to check in, you ran the pass pattern and caught the ball. So you got 2 penalties on you for just being a dumbass and not looking at the ref and going, we good? There were a lot of things I didn't like in this one with the special teams unit. I'm going to go with a C- here because Matt Hawk and the coverage units were good today. But outside of that, there wasn't a lot else to write home about.
Yeah, that was a goofy play. I didn't think it had a tremendous impact on the game. That's why I go with the B+ for them. Paul, who is your player of the game? Who's your Coke Bus player of the game?
Player of the game, I am going to give that to, the guy that I said was probably the best chance Miami had in that backfield going into this game, and I'm going to give it to Salvon Ahmed. First 100-yard rusher in God knows how long. I mean, it feels like an eternity. It feels like it hasn't been since Ricky Williams, even though it was Kalen Ballage that had the last 100-yard game for the Dolphins. But no, it's Salvon Ahmed was a huge part in winning this game and part of why Miami didn't have to put the ball up in the air and at risk very often in this one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you knew the answer to that. And Kalen Ballage against the Vikings in 2018 was the Dolphins' last
I,
100-yard performance.
I knew you were. That's why I
And
beat
it's
you
only
to it.
because he had what? And I what is he had a 77-yard run, and then probably had his usual, 14 carries for 24 yards to push him over the 100-yard mark. I'd say. Uh, so my player of the game, it probably would have been Savon Ahmed. I'm going to give it to Robert Hunt. And I am looking forward to posting a lot of videos here this week on Robert Hunt destroying people on the Dolphins' longest runs. Kudos to this guy because he mauled people. My Coke Bus player of the game, it's a little bit, it's pretty tough here. I'm not quite sure who I want to go with on this to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to give it to Austin Jackson at left tackle because
Okay.
when I rewatched the game, I saw 3 plays in pass protection at least where if Tua didn't get rid of the ball quickly, I think it would have been ugly. And I keep seeing those whiffs that I saw at USC, and it's concerning to me, even though he's 21 years old.
Yeah, and before I give you my Coke Bus player, I'm going to say something that I want to make sure, guys. Thank you guys very much for tuning in on this. Make sure you're clicking the like button. Make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on so you know when we go live. We're going to be having a lot of fun here, hopefully through the playoffs. But for me, the Coke Bus player of the game, I'm going to have to go with another special team linebacker-ish signing here, and that's going to be Kamu Grugier-Hill. Given the fact that Miami just a few weeks ago had a gimmicky special teams play that was effective and called back because players didn't report as eligible, and then your dumbass is going to come out on the field on a gimmicky special teams play and not report as eligible, you've got to have a special set of marbles up in your head on that one. You should be, I mean, if I were Miami, every single play since that gimmick play, if I had somebody on the end of the line, I don't care if they're standing to block, you report as eligible and you don't screw it up. That was early enough in the game that the conversion of the 4th down could have been something that drastically impacted the game. And luckily, Miami was still able to come back, get ahead, and take the lead and knock New England out of the playoffs. But if not, that's one of the plays I would have been pointing at as one of the breaking points in the first half. And he didn't do anything good to balance it out in this one. So, yeah, I got to throw him on the Coke Bus because he could have broken this game for us and kept the Pats alive for the playoffs if things had gone a little differently there. Now I'll shut up.
And
Well,
you really are hung up on this play.
Oh, I am.
That
completely.
I can tell. I mean,
screw
we
up
have
a 4th down conversion that could have been critical as far as the gameplay and getting down the field and trying to take an early lead. Yeah, every time, especially when it's a stupid mistake that was made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you can bet Danny Crossman and Brian Flores are not going to be happy that again you screwed something up by not checking in, not telling the ref, that would take you to the TNT, the takes no talent wall immediately. I do agree with that. So Paul, before we sign off here, has anything jumped out from chat here? Because it looks like we're having some technical difficulties here tonight. Maybe it's on my end, or actually, let's take a
We're
step
not trying to place
here.
blame. We're not trying to place blame.
If you're listening to this show and you're having technical difficulties, it's probably you. So
there we go. We'll blame everybody else. Love it.
Yeah, it's not me.
Approach to freaking technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the smartest guy in the room, so it can't be me.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's the Adam Gase approach. So anyway, now that I've warmed everybody up, who's anything jump out from chat here today?
So, Kat, there's one interesting one, and I'll let you take this first. A few folks are talking about with the Dolphins' first 2 picks in the draft next year, the fact that Miami should go with trenches with both of those picks. I'm going to let you feel that one first before I start going all grumpy ass after Camus Hill, because you're supposed to be the grumpy one here, and I'm taking your throne today.
Well, I mean, I've said that the two guys that I would want that are non-quarterbacks, the top two guys on my list right now, are Penny Sewell and Micah Parsons, and the reason for that is because I think these are, and people throw this word around a lot, but I mean it in this instance, generational talents at their positions. Um, but other than that, if let's say Penny Sewell weren't there, which I don't think he will be when the Dolphins pick with that Texan spot, wherever it is, I'm not going to say, okay, who's the second best left tackle? That wouldn't make sense to me. I'd rather stick it out with Austin Jackson. Same goes for the defensive line. I mean, if it's a best player available situation, absolutely, but it's not something I really consider to be a need.
No, it's, and I'm with you. I'm more about the player and the value there. Micah Parsons and Penei Sewell, as it stands right now, are probably two of the top three players in this draft, talent wise. After that, I would consider going D line only because of the love I have for Kwity Paye. But again, it's only if specific players are there at the pick that offer the value there. You can't just, and this is something you're going to hear us talk about a lot in our draft coverage, our offseason coverage, etc. Is you can't take a lineman just to take a lineman. You can't take a linebacker just to take a linebacker. Like, oh crap, I wanted Micah Parsons. I guess I got to take this guy. You can't do that, and that's not something Chris Greer is going to do. So, yeah, no, I'm with you on Parsons. I'm with you on Sewell. I do like Kwity Paye. With that 7th overall pick, I don't know. For me, one of the things I've been saying all along is there are a couple receivers at the top of the draft that I really like. But wide receiver is a position in this particular draft, I think you can fill your needs a little further down the board with guys that can get separation, guys that can do some special things. But I think there are some of the positions that if you don't grab somebody at the top end of this draft, if you're looking to fill those needs, and obviously the right player, the right position, right time, you're not going to be able to fill those needs, and they're going to be gaps again next year. And Micah Parsons makes even more sense when you look at their free agents for the 2020 offseason or 2021 offseason. You've got Jerome Baker, you've got Kyle Van Noy, and I think the closest thing to a linebacker after those two is Shaq Lawson under contract for 2021 at this point. Micah Parsons makes some goddamn sense. You there, Kat? All right, I think I lost you.
Oh yeah. No. I'm here. I hit mute. My fault. Um, so yeah, I think at linebacker it'd be a perfect situation for Micah Parsons to step into, because like you said, I mean, Kyle Van Noy in 2 years is going to be, 32 years old. A lot of these free linebackers on the rosters are going to be free agents. So to get Parsons in here and then to have him officially take over Van Noy's role in a couple of years would be phenomenal. And wide receiver, yeah, I mean, for me, Jamar Chase is still far ahead of the rest of the group. That includes Devontae Smith. A lot of people will look at wide receivers who are under 180 pounds, under you know 5'11", and say, "Oh, this guy's different. This guy's special." No, it turns out to not be the case a lot of the time. So that's where I am. Maybe I change my mind. Maybe I don't. We'll see as the draft approaches. But it is exciting to have the 6th pick in the draft right now, and the Texans are 4-10. Root like hell for the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Texans next week, because then the Texans play the Titans the week after that. If the Bengals can pull off an upset over the Texans, we could be talking about a 4-12 Texans team and probably a top 5 pick. That's going to do it for our breakdown of the Dolphins' victory 22-12 over the New England Patriots. You can follow Paul and I on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I'm Brian Cat NFL. Paul's Fanatic_pick. I apologize for any technical difficulties we've had, if you've had them on your end. And if you've had them, remember, they're probably your fault as the listener. So just keep that in mind. No, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button and be sure to continue to post your questions there. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on